Queen of Tabor admires the falling snow when she sees a rose blooming in defiance of the cold. When she starts to break it, her finger is cut and 3 drops of blood fall on the ground. She sees the drops of blood on the snow and says, "I wish my child were as white as snow and as red as a rose." Soon after, the queen gives birth to a daughter named Snow White. Every villager cares and loves her. Then one day she takes an injured crow to the palace and says to her mother, "I will take care of it." Then Queen asks her to never lose her beauty and says it will serve you when you become a queen. Snow White plays with William, who is the son of the king's minister, and they love each other. But one day the queen dies and the king locks himself in the darkness of sorrows. Taking advantage of the king's grief, a dark mysterious army appears and lures the king into battle. During the battle, the soldiers of the other army start disappearing when the sword hits, due to which the king wins the battle easily. Later they find some prisoners. One of them is a girl named Ravenna. The king falls in love with her beauty and decides to marry her. Ravenna meets Snow White and tells her, "I also lost my mother when I was your age." The king marries her, and on their first night when the king making love with her, she tricks him, stabs into his heart, and says she is going to take his throne. She then goes outside and calls her phantom army inside the castle and welcomes her brother Finn. Seeing her father dead on the bed, Snow White runs outside where a grueling fight ensues, but before she can leave with Duke, Finn catches her. She summons a large magic mirror from her servants and then tells them all to go outside, after which she asks the mirror, "Oh my mirror, tell me who is fairest them all." Melting from the mirror, a man comes out who says, "You are the most beautiful, my queen, and yet another kingdom falls to your beauty." After that, she comes outside where her soldier asks what should they do with the remnants. Ravenna tells to kill them all and asks Finn to lock Snow White in the cell. The Ravenna's reign turns nature on itself, and the land and the darkness surround the castle. Many years later, Snow White grows up but is still imprisoned. Snow sees another girl named Greta in the lockup. Greta tells her that every girl from their village is taken and she was trying to reach the Duke's castle when they caught her. Ravenna eats the bird's heart and asks her brother, "When we were children, we used to beg for everything like these wretches," and Finn says, "You are very kind." She then takes a bath with milk and her brother only watches her with surprised eyes. The soldiers capture the 2 thieves, father and son, and present them to the queen, and when Ravenna goes to the boy, he stabs her. Ravenna doesn't die due to her immortality and puts her blade finger into the boy's heart, which kills him. Finn asks about the old men, but she tells them to leave him to tell the others about their kind queen. Ravenna sees her wrinkled face in the mirror and asks her brother, "I'm growing old," but Finn brings Greta to her. Ravenna grabs her throat and sucks her beauty to maintain a spell once cast by her mother, which allows her to keep her beauty. Ravenna asks the mirror men who is the fairest of them all. The mirror men tells her, "Someone has come of age fairer even than you. She is the reason your powers wane," and when Ravenna asks who is she, it's Snow White, the mirror says. Finn is watching her sister quietly and the mirror says, "Take her heart in your hands and you shall never need to consume youth. You shall never again weaken or age and will become immortal forever." She sees Finn and orders him to bring the king's daughter. Snow White rips a nail from the window and lies down as she senses Finn's presence and hides the nail. Finn comes to the cell and tells her, "The queen wants your heart," but she quickly stabs him with the nail and runs out. Finn chases her down the castle, but she quickly slides into the castle's well, which leads her to the sea. Snow White jumps into the water and after coming out to the edge she sees a white horse and rides her. Finn and the soldier start chasing her, but she rides into the dark forest where her horse falls into the mud. She runs deeper into the forest while Finn and his army go back from there. Snow White falls on some kind of plant whose gas causes her brain to dizzy and she sees dead birds and evil spirits and falls unconscious. Ravenna becomes angry after knowing that and beats her brother, but she heals his wound and asks him to bring Snow White. Finn finds the huntsman and brings him to the queen. The queen asks him to find Snow White, and in return, she will re-alive his dead wife. Huntsman agrees and they go into the dark forest where Huntsman tells Finn to follow his rules. Snow White sees them coming and hides in the bushes, but the huntsman catches her. Finn tells him to give him the girl, but the huntsman asks him about the queen's words. Finn laughs and tells him, "My sister has powers, but she can't bring your wife back." The huntsman fights with them and hits Finn to make him unconscious and then runs away with Snow White. The huntsman asks her why the queen wants you dead and why are so valuable. Snow White tells him she wants all of us dead. The huntsman eats the fruit and uses its peel to rub on his wound. The huntsman tries to leave, but she stops him and offers him 100 gold coins to take her Duke's castle. The old man whose son was killed by the queen reaches the Duke's castle and informs about the princess. After knowing this, Duke's son William goes to find Snow White with Finn and his army in the dark forest. On the way, a troll attacks them. The huntsman tries to fight, but the troll knocks him and he tells Snow White to run. Snow White looks at the troll with her kind eyes and the troll calms down and leaves from there. They both cross the dark forest and reach a lake where some women in boats see them and ask that only demons or spirits cross this forest. The huntsman tells them, "We are fugitives and we will not harm you," after which those women take them on boats and take them to their village. Reaching the village, the huntsman sees all the women and asks them about their men, and she says they are gone. The woman bandages his wounds and tells him that this girl is the king's daughter who was killed by the evil queen. The huntsman leaves, and during the midnight Finn and his army find Snow's location and burn the little village. Women run to save their lives and children. William is also with them and sees Snow White, but she can't remember his face and runs. The huntsman sees the burning village, runs back and fights the soldiers, then he finds Snow White and escapes from there. Ravenna remembers the time when a king attacked their tribe and her mother cast a spell on her of immortality and told her by fairest blood it is done, and warned her by fairest blood it could be undone. Snow White and the huntsman eventually meet a band of dwarfs: Beef, Muir, Quert, Kull, Dweir, Gort, Nyon, and Gus. They hang both of them and beat the huntsman, while Snow White suggests telling the truth because they don't have much time. Snow White tells them she is a daughter of King Magnus, and Muir discovers that Snow White is the only person who can defeat Ravenna and end her reign. Finn arrives there with his men, and Muir unties their rope and leads them through a hidden path into the green forest. Seeing Snow White's arrival, every bird and every tree becomes happy and they set a camp for the night. The next day, Snow White sees the little creatures and follows them to the small pond where she sees the White Howard. The group and the huntsman also reach and watch the White Howard bowing Snow White. Finn's men attack the White Howard, they run and the White Howard turns to the butterflies and flies away. The huntsman fights Finn, but Finn is more powerful and punches him a couple of times. When Finn said about the huntsman's wife, he becomes angry and throws Finn on the tree. The wood of the tree penetrates him and the queen begins to suffer in the castle. Finn asks his sister for help, but she suffers and can't help him, and Finn dies and turns into old age, while the queen also becomes old age. Snow White meets with William and the soldier attacks Snow White. Muir's man sacrifices his life to save her. Ravenna disguises herself as William and tempts Snow White into eating a poisoned apple, but is forced to flee when the huntsman and William discover her. William kisses Snow White, whom he believes to be dead, without seeing that she has shed a solitary tear. She is taken to Hammond's castle. As she lies in repose, the huntsman professes his regret for not saving Snow White, who reminds him of his wife, and kisses her, breaking the spell. She awakens after a second tear has fallen. Snow White then takes command of the Duke's army and leads them into battle against Ravenna. Snow White leads her army toward the castle, while seeing them coming, Ravenna orders her soldiers to prepare for the war. As they reach near the castle, Muir and his men goes through the well into the castle to see the Ravenna's army. The dwarves infiltrate Tabor through the sewers and open the gates, which allows the Duke's army to invade the castle. Snow White confronts Ravenna but is overpowered, and Ravenna casts the magic spell to awake her dark army. William, the huntsman and the other soldiers fights, but William gets injured. Ravenna is about to kill Snow White and consume her heart when Snow White stabs her in the heart instead, causing Ravenna to wither and die. Hammond's army is victorious, and Snow White is crowned queen of the restored kingdom. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to watch more videos like this.